internet. All right, we've got Canada in the house. We've got Ghana in the house. We've got Tema also in Ghana in the house. We've got Germany in the house. This is awesome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is an international gathering already. And I'm so, so grateful to have each and every one of you here. As you log on, I invite you to mute your microphone. We want to make sure that we have a good quality of sound so that every morsel of insight that is shared tonight can be heard and assimilated by us all. So if you joined us, please mute your microphone. We want to keep it the sound quality as good as possible. For those of you joining us from Facebook, hello. Hi, Facebook. For those joining us through the Facebook Live, we're so glad you're here. We're so thankful for the opportunity to be hosting someone who I love dearly in tonight's masterclass. I'm going to introduce her formally in a moment, but I thought I would start off by introducing myself. For those who may not know me, my name is Yawa Hansen-Quao. I'm founder of Leading Ladies Network. I'm what you might call a multicultural African. Formative years of my life were spent in the US, and I'm from Ghana, but I've been over the past 15 years, really, really passionate about helping to strengthen the capacity of women as leaders. I've been working to undergird women in senior leadership as an advisor, as a coach, as a counselor. I'm also passionate about leader development. So I do a lot of training on leadership topics because I do believe that everything rises and falls on leadership. I'm really passionate about helping people to find the best expression of themselves wherever they are. I'm also an author. I authored two books. The first book, Daughters of Zelophehad, I published in 2013. And in 2023, 10 years after, I published my second book, The Leading Lady Way. Both books really focused on how do women make sense of the world that we're in and how do we bring our best selves to the public space as leaders. So I am grateful for my own personal journey that walked me to a meeting and an encounter with Dion Johnson, our guest tonight. Dion Johnson is someone that I've come to love and respect dearly because she's someone who, like me, is passionate about women in leadership. She's passionate about supporting the rise of women into leadership. She's someone who has always carried a burden for supporting people to become their best selves. And so, in that way, she and I are both. We share that in common. But Dion holds a special place in my heart because a few years ago, when I was in a space of transition, really needing to reconnect with the purpose and find myself, Dion offered a program that I joined, and it was a 1 week masterclass program, similar to what we're going to be doing tonight. And it was transformative. And shortly after, she and I began our journey as executive, as her being my executive coach. So that coaching journey was so transformative for me. And I credit her with helping me to answer some of the questions we are going to answer tonight in tonight's masterclass. What is next and best for you, especially if you're harboring this feeling and sensibility that you are made for more? So Dion really helped me, navigate a transition professionally and really capture a bigger, more expansive vision of myself as a leader. And I think it's spilled over into so many other aspects of my life. And I'm pleased to share her with you all tonight. Dion and I first connected, I believe, in November, end of November or so in 2022. And so we've been in perhaps a little over a 2 year relationship. But I did invite Dion to Ghana last year, and it was magical having her in the room with me and this intimate group of women leaders for what I called my Rapid Reset Retreat. She's a phenomenal coach And to have her in the space working with some of the women in the Leading Ladies Network was such a gift. So I've also invited Dion back to Ghana next month. So in a few weeks, she's going to be back joining us as a co-facilitator of the Standout Women's Leadership Program. So for those of you who are signed up for the Standout Women's Leadership Program, this is a preview of what you are going to be enjoying through the Standout program with Dion and myself and a few others next month. For those of you who don't know about the Standout Women's Leadership Program, this is our group coaching program for women in the professional space. If you are in a place of leadership already, maybe as your own business owner, an entrepreneur, or someone who is working in a corporation, and really feels like it's time to level up and move to the next level, then the Standout Women's Leadership Program really is for you. So I'll be sharing information via email to everyone who's registered to join us tonight, or you can just let us know in the chat box if you need the brochure, and we'll be sure to send that out to you. So without further ado, I want to start this conversation tonight with Dion Johnson, who is an executive coach to senior women in leadership. She is the author of the book Influential Woman, helping women like me find their voice, use their voice, find and hone who they are to transform the world. And she believes that transformation first starts with self. And she's taught so many women like me how to get out of our way and become a bigger, bolder, better version of ourselves. So please help me with a virtual hand clap wherever you are. Welcome to the stage, Dion Johnson. Dion, please unmute yourself and introduce yourself briefly. I'd love for you to just give our guest tonight a taste of who you are, an intro to work that you've been doing with leaders like me, and let us know, any insights that you think will help the women on tonight's call be able to really know who's speaking. So, Dion, a few introductory remarks, please.
So, first of all, I have to say, mwah to you. I really love that we're doing this together. I knew from about 5 minutes into our very first conversation that this would be an ongoing relationship. I sensed the power that you command. You command great power, and you are a world-changing woman. And it is my honor to be with you and doing all the things that we're about to do in the world together going forward. Okay. So I'm excited about being here. Hi to everybody. I know you could be anywhere else right now. It's the evening, it's a school night. I know you got lots going on, and I'm just so glad that you decided to tune in to this conversation that my friend and I are going to be having this evening about a bigger, bolder, better you. My background, my professional background started in healthcare, and I was a midwife for a very long time. And one thing that I learned in midwifery is about the power of womanity. I learned that women are powerful, that you are powerful. And yet, sometimes in the professional space, there's this hold up with the way that we show up in our power. There is kind of like a ceiling that I don't know if we put it on ourselves, or it's self-imposed, if it's enforced, but there is kind of a hold back in the expression and the and the showing up of our power. And that's what we want to address tonight. You know, also, as a midwife, I realized that every baby that was born was different. You're different. And we want to talk about your difference tonight. I want you to be thinking about what makes you different. Every baby was resilient, was able to go through whatever it had to go through to survive those fragile early days. You were born powerful. And I want you to leave the call today knowing that. So,
Oh.
is going to go. We're going to let the conversation flow. But I want you to know that as we share these stories, we're sharing them not because we want you to know about us, but because we want you to know about you. We want you to be able to think about how our stories, how the things that we share apply to you. We want you to make it personal tonight. We want you to make it like, about you, the woman in the mirror. Because actually, we both believe, and the reason that we're doing this is because we both believe that you are about to step into a season of your life where you make real change in your world, starting with your world, like your immediate world, and then the world at large. That you and your voice really matter, and that's what we're here to talk about tonight.
We want to make sure that,
That's
especially
a
you, so the
fantastic
women.
introduction. And thank you so much, Dion. One of the things that is stand out about you is your personal story. Can you tell us a little bit about your personal story? Because one of the things that really touched me was what you have had to overcome to be who you are today, impacting other people. And you told this powerful story of how you needed to unmask yourself to show up as the bigger, bolder, better version of you. Can you tell all of our audience today a bit of that story?
So we have to go right back to when I was in my mother's womb, right? I was in my mother's womb and I didn't develop conventionally. So when I was born, I had a really pronounced facial disfigurement. So the lower half of the face was not together. The part of my head was asymmetrical, blind in my left eye, had a disfigured left eye. And so I was already kind of an uncommon one when I was born. And from about the age of 3 months, I was involved in corrective surgery to have my face sorted and fixed. And as part of that process, when I was about 4 years old, I mean, right from the age of 3 months into my adulthood, I was having corrective surgery. But when I was about four, I was gifted an artificial eye, which was like this plastic shell that would um, sit over my disfigured eye, and it was painted to look like my right eye. And then these big dark glasses. They were big like this, and they were very dark. They were a huge inconvenience when it was dark. It was hard to wear them, but they were gifts. And the health service and all the people, the lovely people that helped me to receive these gifts, they gave me these with such great intention. They were loving on me. And what they really wanted to happen for me was that I would be able to hide my facial flaws. That when you look at me, they wanted me to blend in, to be more normal, to fit in. So I would go about from the age of four for right up into my early adulthood. No, not early adulthood, when about 40 years old, I would be wearing these masks. I call it the beginning of my life behind the mask. I don't know if anybody could have seen it back then, but what was happening was that they were teaching me a very powerful lesson that I would take with me forward in life. And this lesson said that if there's something wrong with you, if there's something that's not normal, if there's something that's not the same as everybody else's, you need to put that thing away.
Mm.
You need to make sure that nobody sees that. You need to hide it. I became a master hider at the age of four, receiving those gifts. And there were all kinds of dynamic lessons coming out of that experience, and I didn't let anybody see me. From that day on, very few people saw my disfigured face like this. They were always hidden behind the artificial eye and dark glasses. I mean, I had ninja moves. I slept with my artificial eye in my bra 'cause I couldn't sleep with it. It was uncomfortable. So I would have it in my bra so that if anybody came in the night while I was sleeping, I'd quickly stick it in and just I just hid. I became a master hider. And so that's how I went into the world of education. Like I was in school one day without my mask, and I went back to school at 4 years old with these things on. And that's how I went through life, just hiding myself until 15 years ago now in 2009 I hit this sort of turning point. Isn't it great when you just when it comes time, because I know there's some people on the call right now, it's turning point season, like rubber's hitting the road, and it's time for us, it's you just can't deny it, it's time to do something about it. Well, I had a week from hell in 2009 after 40 years of wearing my masks. My aunt died. We were in a really big family gathering, like old friends, all kinds of people around. And this boy called me ugly. He said, Mom, your friend, she's so ugly. His words really hit. And it was like, bang, right, hit right inside somewhere. Then the very next day, some kids came up and tapped me on the shoulder and laughed at me, pointed at my face and laughed at me. Oh my gosh, like bang, painful again. And then the next day, I'm walking along the street, and you know, like when you're walking on the street and somebody's coming towards you, and sometimes your eyes meet. I saw his eyes meet mine, and he went, "What the f?" He was horrified at the sight of me, and he walked off. And it was like that same pain. By the end of that week, it's like every single day. You know how it is when it's time for you to deal with something. It's time for you to learn something about yourself. It's time for you to make some kind of change. It's like everywhere you turn, this thing is keeps coming up, keeps going. That's how it was that week. And by the end of that week, I had my hands up in the air like this, thinking, "Oh, I just don't know. I Something's wrong." I was crying out to God. I was saying, "God, something's not right." A conversation happened on the inside of me. I like to say a conversation with God. Some people say, I was talking to myself. We're not arguing about that tonight. The conversation was so real. And these questions came up in my heart and said, Dion, why are you hiding? Why won't you let people see the real you? When are you going to show up for real, Dion? Well, I'd never act like I'd been wearing my artificial eye and dark glasses for 40 years at that point. I mean, I would never have, I didn't ever question it. This was how I faced the world. This was how I showed up. And Yawa, when the questions were so relentless, asking me why won't I show up for real? Why am I hiding? I went, because. And I was speaking out loud, and I heard myself say, look at me. How can I let people see this? I've got to hide it. When I heard those words coming out of my own mouth, they took me aback. I mean, have you ever found yourself saying something about yourself that you think, like, that can't be right? Like, I felt so conflicted. I was feeling the pain of the moment, but inside I was thinking, no, 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 that doesn't sound right. Sometimes we carry these thoughts about ourselves, Yawa, that we don't even know that we're thinking. Like we think about ourselves in ways that are derogatory. And things about, I was saying basically to God that I'm not palatable, that I'm not okay, it wouldn't be fair to subject this real me to people. I made up in my mind on the floor. I was on the floor at the time with my hands up in the air like this. I looked like some mad person. And I was saying to myself, I'm gonna find a way to show up for real. I know I've been wearing this artificial eye and these dark glasses for 40 years, but I'm gonna find a way to show up for real. And so I made that decision and I got up off that floor, and I've been on this incredible journey ever since of learning how to show up for real. At first of all, we were talking about my face. But pretty soon into that journey, I realized that I was hiding myself on all kinds of levels, not just my face, but me. I was hiding me. I didn't know who me was. I'd become so disconnected from myself. And I was doing all the things, I was leading, I was succeeding, I was climbing, I was doing all the things, but I was so separated from myself. And that created a painful life, a successful, painful life, a life that looked so good to the onlookers. But inside, I knew something was wrong. It felt like I was one foot on the gas, propelling myself forward, and simultaneously another foot on the brake. Just stuttering. My life was stuttering. My relationships were stuttering. My work life was stuttering. My leadership was stuttering. I made up in my mind that that needed to go. And it's been an incredible journey. And the things that I have learned, I started to share them. I started to attract amazing women who started to share with me their version of this same story of hiding, playing small, not being seen, not letting people in, keeping people out, not letting their real truth come, not allowing their world to really know who they are, losing touch with themselves. Like these, and this is not just my story. And I've learned over the years as I've been doing this work and it's been gathering momentum that this is our story. And what I know, Yawa, is that if we are to answer the call, which I know we're going to be talking about the call for women in leadership right now, but we cannot answer the call separated from ourselves. We cannot answer the call hiding. We cannot answer the call suppressing and depressing the truth that's within us that wants to be shared with our organizations, our industry, our field, our families, our friends, our communities. We have to find a way, just like I did all those years ago, to show up for real, to show up bigger, bolder, braver, better, badass now.
I love it. I love it because as you tell your story, Dion, I'm reminded of some of the stories I'm hearing in Ghana as I coach other women. I've been through my own journey of finding my voice, of losing confidence about what I sound like and having to embrace. So for you, it was physical deformity. For me, it was self-consciousness about voice, appearance, my background. For others, it's cultural things like women aren't supposed to be seen or own things or to be bosses. And I know many of the women on tonight's call or watching us live on Facebook are really at this stage where there is this internal voice suggesting to them that they are made for more, they're supposed to be bigger, better, bolder, braver, all of the above. But the question is, how? How do I get from this terrified, unsure, uncertain, un um, obscure, and that's why our theme for this year for the Standout program is prepare for prominence, because some of us have shrunk and have hidden ourselves because of some of these stories. Maybe it was a public failure in the past that took away our steam. Maybe it's this feeling that we are just not ever going to be as good, as for these people, they are the super dupers. As for me, I can do nothing. So, Dion, can you give some practical strategies that everyone tuned in tonight can use to start the journey to becoming the bigger, the better, the bolder, braver version of themselves? Because one of the things that you had to call out in me when you were my executive coach was this notion of other people's opinions. And I think a lot of us, and you said it this way. Now, Dion is a provocative coach. And there are some sessions she would come at me and I would feel like she was piercing my heart. But in one of those piercing sessions, Dion said to me that, Yawa, Why are you holding the opinions of other people around your neck like a noose? She essentially was telling me that I was choking myself by holding other people's opinions in such high esteem, right? So, Dion, that's just one example of some of the things holding us back. How do we overcome the things? For me, it was other people's opinions that was leading to self-doubt and overthinking and procrastinating and the paralysis in certain areas of my life. But how does one become the bigger, better, bolder version of themselves when they're grappling with these limiting beliefs or societal constructs or cultural realities? You know, a lot of us live in an environment where there's a subconscious but very pervasive belief that women cannot or should not be leading anything. So, what would you say to everyone who says, Dion, that's a nice story. Work must be nice for you. Must be nice for you, Yawa. You've overcome. But I'm still stuck. What do they do?
Well, first of all, I mean, you said so many things like that. Okay. But first of all, I think I was born with this face as a metaphor, as a symbol for whatever it is that you are, whatever it is that's causing you to hide, whatever it is that you're withholding, whatever it is that, you know, this is our story that so many of us have become so unplugged from ourselves. I can't tell you the number of clients that I meet that tell the story of how, you know, their power was beat out of them, or they learned very early on to shut up and not to share their opinion. They learned very, like, even just that kind of cultural women or young people should be seen and not heard, that kind of the second ratedness, the inequality, all of those things. Like, this is our story. So women have centuries of being abused, treated like chattel, you know, scrutinized, all of the above. And we are on a collective journey to finding our way from behind the mask. Like, it's not just my story. The fact that there are so many of us registered for this call is evidence that there is a global awakening of women who are feeling like this. They are they are waking up. They are saying, "No, I'm sure that there's got to be something else for me." Like, it's a global thing. That on a daily basis, I'm having these conversations with women who are saying, I should be okay. Like, I'm doing great things. Like, I've got the corner office. I'm driving this car. I'm living in this house. Or, I'm doing fine I'm the first in my family to have gotten this far. I went to university. I've done this course, got that degree, worn that cap. And still there is this waking up. I want you to know that that's not random, that there is a you on the inside that needs expression, and she is knocking at the door to be let out, to be released. And so the first thing that you have to do, if this is resonating with you, you need to ask yourself, what am I going to listen to that call? You have to notice the call. Because sometimes the call comes in such ugly packaging. I mean, I told you about my week from hell. I thought I was losing my mind. I thought the pain was severe, and I didn't know what to do. I was afraid. I've heard people talk about the awakening as though it's some kind of unwelcomed intruder. Like I was doing fine, and then all of a sudden my life just got disrupted. Sometimes this call comes in ugly packaging. And it is not random. It's calling you because there's a part of you that is ready to be prepared for expression. It's ready for you to take note and to reconnect and to let her unleash her, let her out. She's bigger than you. She's badder than you. She's ready to do something in this world, and she's calling for release. So it's not random. So the very first thing that you need to do is you need to listen to that. You need to hear the call. You need to decide, okay, this feels like it's wrong, but actually, This is my wake up call. This is alerting me to something. We're so quick to label pain or disruption or discombobulation as a bad thing. But I want you to reframe it and call it your wake up call. It's like a call from heaven or a call from your higher self going, hey, pay attention. So when you hear the call, you need to say yes. That's the next thing. And you need to set the intention that there is more for me to be. This isn't happening for random. This is trying to tell me something about me, and I'm going to find out what the message is. That's what I did on the floor that day with my hands up in the air. I said, I didn't know anything about what it was going to turn into. I just knew that I didn't want to stay here feeling like this about myself. And so I said yes to the call. And I remember getting help. I remember going and finding myself a coach because I really believe in the coaching process. I found myself a counselor because I knew that this stuff ran really deep. I mean, I could not imagine myself showing up without my artificial eye and dark glasses. I could not imagine what it would be like to have you seeing the real me. And so I did that. I got myself support, I got myself help, and I created commitment. And I began to take the journey. I call it my power path now. I began to take the journey step by step, reading about how to heal. I started to talk to people and to um, pray and to have real mirror time, like looking at myself. Because this path that we have to go on now, Yawa, you'll know, it's very unique. It's not the same. It's not a cookie cutter process. It's about finding out where you are right now, daring to think about where you want to get to, what happened to get you where you are, and what needs to happen to start you on the move again. And that's really you set the intention, you commit to the journey, you get support, and you start stepping. What you'll find is gold.
That's powerful. That's really, really powerful. And, as I journeyed with you in my coaching journey, and you were talking me through some of the things that I was experiencing, I found that one of the magic ingredients about coaching is that sometimes we're too close to our own problem to see the solution. That it does help to have someone who's at a distance to look at what you're saying to yourself, to reflect back to you, what they're hearing, and to just journey with you. And I think you're brilliant when it comes to that. So I'm really excited for the standout women leaders who will have the benefit of being coached by you. One of the things that I thought it would be helpful for you to talk about, Dion, a lot of us are dealing with some demons, loneliness, guilt, and fear. What are some of those tactics? Because, you know, I love what you said about asking for help, getting the coaching, the counseling. Can you maybe talk about the power of community as well as one of those? Because I think it was fantastic that you drew me in to your community, the House of Influence. And I had the benefit of not just learning from you, but also the community of other women that were committed to their transformation journeys. And I've seen that power in the cohort-based leadership programs that I've been curating, like the Standout Women's Leadership Program and others. When you're journeying together, there's a power in that. What could you say about the power of community as one of the elements to enable transformation?
When I um when I go and address, sometimes I go into companies and I address small groups of women. It happened when we were in Ghana. It's happened all over the place. Whenever I go to speak and we start talking about the things that we talk about, we like to go under the cover, I like to say behind the mask, and we talk about these things. I see the attitude in the room shifting, minutes after the conversation has started. It's like it's like people sit up in their chair like, oh, this is different. This is not the same. And what happens by the end of the conversation, the meeting, is that people go, "Oh my goodness, I nearly missed this. Like I can't believe I should have come. I wasn't even going to come. It's only because so and so invited me, or it's only because I promised that I would be the driver to bring my friend or my mate here. Otherwise, I would have missed this. Oh my goodness, I can't believe it. It's been so amazing. It's been life changing. Oh my goodness." And what I've seen with that, I've thought about that deeply. Every time I hear a woman say, I wasn't even going to come, I've thought about that deeply, Yawa. And what I see is that so often we've got so used to the women's leadership space. And it's nice, of course, it's lovely. And we think, we could take it or leave it, it's not something that you really it's like it's nice. Like sometimes it gets you off work for an afternoon, or you know it's nice to go and have a little time, do something different with your girls on the weekend. But we haven't really clocked, or we've lost the urgency for this kind of conversation. We've kind of gotten used to the idea that maybe, it's nice, but it's not really going to change my life. It's nice, but it's not, it's a nice to have, but it's not, I'm busy. I'm juggling a lot of plates, the kids, my marriage, the home, no marriage, it's like we've got so much going on. And these people, my boss is stressing me out. I've got all of this stuff going on that we feel like, that we just don't have. It's not, when we have room we can do it because it's nice, but it's not something that we need to have. But what I've seen over the years, and I've ran my own groups and I have spoken at several and been part of several, what I've seen is the power that happens when women gather. You see, the path that we're working on to bigger, bolder, better is a peaks and troughs journey. It's got deep valleys. It's painful at times. It's convoluted. It's stressful. It's painful. It's challenging. It's scary sometimes. And doing that it doesn't happen on our own. Let's just be frank. It doesn't happen on our own. We really need community to hold the space for us to continue along that journey. We need the space we need sisters to speak life into us. We need someone to call us out on our BS. We need a place where we can just we can lose our composure, where we don't have places where we can lose our composure. We're so masked up, armored up, putting our game face on because that's how we survive in these streets. But we can't be armored up, masked up, and game faced on and be healing. Like it doesn't happen. We need a place where we can take the layers off and show, look, this is where it hurts. Look, this is what I'm doing, and be celebrated, be seen. In my unmasking journey, I realize that we are petrified of being properly seen. We are petrified of being seen without our masks on, without it all together, hair did, lashes on. We're petrified about being seen, but it's our greatest need also. It is our greatest need. And I see on a daily basis women flourishing um, in the space of community, in the space of sisterhood, where they are seen, they are heard, they are respected, they're celebrated, they're acknowledged, they're taken seriously. It's a non-negotiable for people who want to grow bigger, bolder, better, prominence. People who want to show up more powerfully, people who want to lead at new levels. Like this, the things that we're undoing on this ascension journey into power and prominence, Um, they're not made to be done alone.
I love it. You're not made to journey alone on this road to prominence. You know, in my most recent book, The Leading Lady Way, chapter 2 of the book, I talk about one of the truths that's been so transformative in my own life, which is you can't be your best self by yourself. And I think early in my career, I was always trying to be the superwoman, always trying to be the one who's figuring it out, solving this, doing that, you know. And I think a lot of my personal and professional growth spurts have always been as a result of letting go, reassessing what's super critical and what is necessary. And one of those big pieces is that I can't do it alone. I had to bring in other people who are a bit more skilled than me in other areas of my life in order for there to be success. You know, we are live on Facebook and here in the Zoom room, which is almost at full capacity. So I do have a question from someone in the Facebook. I was just checking a moment ago who's asking, you know, what do you do when you're the first and the only in a space? Um, do you have some wisdom for that? She's grappling with this idea of being the first and the only woman. For a lot of women that I deal with, we are double minorities. We are, you know, probably the first Black person and the first woman. I remember when I joined my first board, it was an international board, and I was the first and only Black person of color from Africa. So I remember the imposter syndrome, the feelings of like, what do I do? How do I, you know? So, what wisdom would you speak to Esther, who is asking from our Facebook broadcast, what do you do when you're the first and the only?
It depends on which you is the first and the only. You know, one of the things that I'll explain. One of the first things that I've learned on this journey of my own development and then working with other women is that when we say I, when we talk about you know, we're not talking about the same person all the time. So there are several I's inside this I. And just for simplicity's sake, I'll just talk about two of them. There is what I call your highness, your queen. There's a queen in here. And this queen, she is high, she is regal, she is powerful, she is she's the God, she's the you that God made. You know, she is called to be in that room. She's chosen. She's born for this. She is equipped and she's connected to wisdom and power and might. This queen. Then there's this other I, this other me, other you. And I call her a little leader with a slave girl mind. She's that aspect, that lower nature aspect of us. And um, she's been grown up in this world of ours. She's been programmed by the world's ideas about what it means to be a black woman or whatever your demographic, like this lower nature you. She's got all the ideas. She's got some beliefs that are not the same as Queen's. She thinks about, she's afraid. Where Queen acts from faith, this HAU acts from fear. She's been through some stuff, this lower nature you. She's made up her mind about some things and the decisions that she's made are no longer serving her, but she doesn't know how to change them. They're so deeply entrenched. So you see, it depends on which you're talking about in that room. Because when there is angst and imposter syndrome and worry and conflict and all of this stuff going on the inside of you when you're in that room on your own, that is proof positive that you're not connected to Queen yet. You're not connected to your highness yet. This is like my everyday work is helping leaders to discover their highness, and then connect with their highness, embody their highness, their sovereignty. Because this is how sovereign you walks into that room and commands it. Sovereign you has something of power to say. Sovereign you is well supported, like the queen is well supported. She has her girls out here that she gets built up from so that she can get into that room. Sovereign is called to be in that room. She's not there trying to be someone like lower nature, little leader with a slave girl mind. She's trying to prove something about herself. She's trying to manage how people see her. Feel, she's trying to she's trying to prove something about herself. She's trying to, even to herself, she's trying to prove that she is of the caliber to be in that room. She's trying to prove that she has what it takes to hold this down. Queen's not into that. Queen is already powerful. She doesn't have to try and find power somewhere, and she's showing up because of that power. They're just different modus operandi. And so, what I would say to anyone who's the first is like, the queen has put you there. Like, the queen wants to show up there. Like, you need to embody your highness. And that is a process that I really am passionate about helping women to understand. I want to show you something because today, when I was thinking about this, I went and printed something off on my computer. I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but can you see this?
Yes, I see it.
So, what I want to show you is, what I want to say to you is, that there is a need for you to step into your higher nature, your bigger, bolder, more better self, right? And it's really what I've been talking to you about is closing the gap between that lower nature you with the slave girl mind and really stepping into your queenness. And it is, if it was here, like this would be, let me see if I can find it. This middle bit here would be where your bigger, bolder, badder self is. And it's made up. It's like where the pieces converge. Your spiritual identity. Your spiritual identity is the higher nature you. That higher nature you that you definitely have. The you that's called, chosen, born for such a time as this, here to do amazing things. Like, you need nobody else like you and connected to all that there is. Finding her and then making sense of your personal story, just like me, like I did with my journey, some of the journey I've shared with you today. And when you come to stand out, we'll talk more about some of the other things. But understanding what your personal story is, understanding what life has taught you, understanding, that a lot of people have gone through things and it didn't make them better, it made them bitter. Like that, this process is going to start undoing that. We're going to undo the bitterness and find the betterness. We're going to find the lessons that life has taught you, because you think it's by accident that you walked the path that you've walked, that you fell where you fell, that when you got down there, didn't you see some things? Didn't you learn some things that, guess what? Those things that you learned through your life journey, they're exactly the lessons, the wisdom that industry needs now. Industry needs your wisdom. And so understanding your personal story is a powerful way of building your bigger, better self. And then your understanding of a specific problem. You see, with my journey, I got to understand hiding. I got to understand playing small. I got to understand what it is to be a black woman in a white man's world. I got to understand what it was to be facially disfigured in a beauty obsessed world with very clear notions about what beauty is. I got to understand what it is to be a woman of faith in a secular and religion phobic world. Like, that's my personal story that has given me insight, wisdom to bring to my work, to bring to industry, to bring to the grand scheme of the marketplace. You will have the same. Your journey, where your spiritual identity, can't see if you can see that, spiritual identity, your personal story, and your specific problem awareness, your mission, your assignment. You see where these three merge? They'll be different for everyone. They'll be unique to you. It'll be your unique blueprint. And this is where you're bigger. This is where you're bolder. This is where you're badder. This is where it doesn't matter who's not like you in the room. You're there. You walk in, you carry weight because you do carry weight. Your specific problem awareness is valuable to the marketplace. Your personal story is valuable to the marketplace. Your spiritual identity is essential to the marketplace at such a time as this. The things that we need to change, we don't know how to change them. And so, women, leaders who are plugged into wisdom are the ones who are bringing the new insight, the new ideas. You're a hot commodity if you get these three right. That's how you get bigger. That's how you get bolder. That's how you get better. There's a convergence happening, and it wants to happen with you. That's why you're on the call. That's why you're here. You think you're here by accident, but actually, there's a convergence that wants to happen in your life where your spiritual identity, you're going to meet Queen. You're going to meet her and get to know her and get to understand how to operate as her, master your sovereign power, embody your highness. You're going to unpack your personal story and you're going to find the wisdom that is embedded, encoded in that. And you're going to learn, you're going to build a bridge between all of that goodness about you and something that the marketplace really needs. How can you not be a hot asset in your organization, in your industry, and your field when you begin to do this work? I have testimony upon testimony. I am a living testimony that this work works. It's the real work. The question is, are you up for the real work? There's so much leadership training is so superficial. That's why you could take it or leave it. That's why you weren't going to come, you know? But I think it's time for us to do the real work. And that's what we're about, doing the real work.
Mm, I love it. You know, that real work can be uncomfortable. That real work can be unsettling. The real work can be disorienting because it requires a reveal. The unmasking that Dion talked about at the beginning, is a big piece of what we embed in the Standout Women's Leadership Program experience. We realize that so many of us are powdered up and suited up and made up, but under all of that are some real wounds, some real needs that need to be addressed. And I love what Dion was just sharing about the fact that we've got to be prepared for this convergence, that our personal story, our spiritual identity, and all of the things that we may look at as scars or things that we need to pack in and not expose are really what will make us unique and stand out in the marketplace. And I really respect Dion's perspective because she's linking this inner work to the impact that we could have on the bottom line of our businesses or companies, or the real impact we could have as leaders at home or wherever. The two things I might want to add to what Dion has shared is that, at least in my experience, as I've been coached by her and trained by different people, I've been investing in coaching for years and counseling and mentoring, and it's been invaluable. I also think that sometimes we can overemphasize one over the other. And I love that she presents this balanced view, like these concentric circles, because I remember in my own life and in some of the lives of women that I've coached or mentor or train or have encountered in my journey, sometimes we become hyper spiritual. over spiritualizing everything, and everything is I'm under attack. I didn't get the promotion because I'm under attack. I didn't, I'm not where I need to be because the village is filled with witches that are fighting against me. And I don't discount that there is evil. There are evil forces in the world. But I think part of the balance that I think Dion is talking about is understanding what is real and what is imagined, and accepting in humility that sometimes you're not under attack, you're just underdeveloped in a specific area. And so that's why we've created this experience to meet you in all of those three sectors, to deal with those internal limiting beliefs, but also to give you some real strategic coaching and some skills. A lot of the modules in our Standout Women's Leadership Program are actually teaching you some practical skills that you can use in the marketplace as well, so that we're meeting the need on multiple fronts. The
Yeah.
second thing I wanted to add is that I really, really want to invite you all to what Dion ended with, the real work. I think a lot of us play at this cerebral level, but when it gets deep to why do I do what I do? Why do I make the choices that I'm making? Why do I keep walking around the same mountain? I mean, for those of you who are Christians, you might understand that analogy of, the people of Israel walking in the wilderness for 40 years, when there was a journey that would have taken them a shorter amount of time. A lot of us have so much potential, so much ability that is yet unrealized because we're avoiding the real work. And like I said, the real work is uncomfortable. Like I said, in some of my coaching calls with Dion, it's like she could sense it. She's like, Yawa, I think you're angry, or you're this isn't settling well, because the real work exposes you. The real work is inviting others to look under the hood and see what's there. And that's why a big centerpiece of our Standout Women's Leadership experience is our in-person retreat, where, you're off all of the technology, no phones, no recording, nothing. And we just talk for real because that real work needs to be done in an environment of trust and collaboration. But, I'm sharing all of this to say I am proof that when you do the real work, like you can shoot, your life can transform and you can shoot forward in leaps and bounds. So thank you, Dion, for sharing that piece as well. I see a couple of comments in the chat box. I was really trying to avoid wearing my glasses, but you people, I am of a certain age now. Someone says sometimes you're not under attack by the evil forces. You could just be underdeveloped. Yes. That's one of the most insightful revelations I've had recently. That sometimes it's just you've got to build up a skill set. A lot of people seem to like that. I see the comments of people liking that comment. Someone says, this one was for me, my personal story, how many times I've not appreciated them, but have just been wondering why me. Gosh, Dion, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. Someone else is saying, this is amazing. Thank you, Yawa. Thank you, Dion. I'm loving that you're loving this. I'm loving that so many of you have shown up. Our Zoom room has been filled, and we've got people following us on Facebook as well. Someone is saying, whoa, real work equals process. Essentially, it's a process. The things that you're looking for come at a cost. During the Standout Women's Leadership Program, I'm going to be talking people through in one of our virtual sessions over what's been called adaptive leadership, like the idea of understanding that every gain comes at a cost. And I think sometimes we want to have it all, but we don't count the cost. So I'm excited about, walking our standout women leaders through that process. Someone says, this is exactly what I need right now. I've been crying the whole day. Oh, my dear. I feel, oh, wow. Wow. Dion, you were really speaking to someone. She said, this is exactly what she needs right now. She's been crying the whole day. Oh my goodness. My heart goes out to you, dear friend. And, please drop me an email or send me a private message. We can chat further if you want some support. But we do welcome you to the Standout Women's Leadership Experience. I think if this is speaking to you on that level, I think it's time to do this real work. Someone is reacting to what you said, Dion, about the Queen. She says, I love it. The Queen. Wow. Um, Someone else is saying, Yawa, what I've learned from the Renew Challenge that I did with you and the community of women was that community helps me to unmask and that I'm not alone in the dysfunction, and therefore we can heal and grow as we pour into one another. I love it. She says, we always think we are abnormal until another person speaks and what they say resonates with you and your fears. Thank you so much. I started this community, the 52-day Renew Challenge, and many of you have journeyed with me in that wellness program. So thank you that you've joined us tonight, dear friend. All right. Someone else says, I'm not made to journey alone. Support systems is our greatest asset. Oh my, please drop in the chat box. What's your greatest aha that you're taking from all that Dion is sharing with us tonight? This is so powerful. I want to make sure I'm watching what people are saying on Facebook as well. Someone says, Dion, I really need to do the real work. You're calling people, you're issuing the call for people to do the real work. So someone on Facebook is saying, I need to do this real work. Someone else is saying, many thanks, Dion, for breaking us out. Being you and sharing, you've really healed my mind and my heart with these real words of truth. Thank you so much. So many people are just being touched by what we're sharing tonight. So many comments trickling in. I'm really excited to be seeing just, what people are sharing tonight and what's resonant. And for me, as someone who's been working in the space of women's leadership development for 15 years, I am realizing that even the way I'm doing this work has shifted because of my own personal transformation. And I think that's why this type of real work is important for women who influence and impact others, because we show up with all of ourselves as leaders. And if parts of ourselves are broken or hurting or unfixed, we have a tendency to pour that out on other people. So the better I am fortified and undergirded through coaching and mentoring and counseling, the more I'm able to show up as a better mother and friend and employee, employer, uh, just better. And that's why we call tonight's masterclass Becoming the Bigger, Better, Braver version of ourselves. Because I think a lot of us are living way beneath our potential and we're living afraid. And to do that real work means we have to say yes to things that are fearful, say yes to this idea that if I expose myself, if I let people see what I'm struggling with, I risk rejection. Yes, that's part of the real work. But what lies on the other side of that is greater impact. I believe I'm showing up as a more vibrant um, version of myself because I said yes to the real work in the area of wellness and health, but also the real work in terms of like dealing with my own limiting beliefs. And I really want to extend this invitation to each of you who have joined us tonight, that the Standout Women's Leadership Program is really part of how we want to help women do the real work. I hope you can sense from myself and Dion tonight that for us, we are women who have taken a journey and have seen the transformation and are raising our hands to say we want to undergird you as you take your journey. So if you are unfamiliar with the Standout Women's Leadership Program, or if you're on the fence about signing up, registration is closing this Friday. So I really want to encourage you, if this has been resonant, if you're at the place where you know you're made for more and you're ready to move to that next level, we would really invite you to journey with us. The Standout Women's Leadership Program is a hybrid opportunity. We've got 3 virtual sessions coupled with an in-person retreat. And this year, the retreat's going to be held at the Safari Valley Resort in the eastern region of Ghana. We're super excited about that. It's a beautiful location to do the real work. So if this has touched you, we're going to be emailing everyone who registered for tonight. We'll share with you more information so that you can consider whether or not the real work that we're inviting you to do should start with us through the Standout Women's Leadership Program. For those who were asking in the chat box, I did see a question before. Is there a virtual option? Yes, you can sign up for the virtual only, which will give you access to the 3 virtual sessions that we do. We are not currently offering a residential only program because the virtual prepares you for the residential experience. So you either do the full program, which is virtual plus the residential, or you do only virtual. We do have a few people signed up from outside of Ghana who are not going to be able to travel, and so they will do just the virtual. So we're thankful for those of you who've signed up and said yes already. But as I've said, our doors are closing this Friday. We are ready to start journeying with you with our first virtual session, which begins on June 5th. For those of you who follow me on Facebook, I've been posting incessantly about Standout all throughout the past couple of weeks. So, but if you registered for the Zoom call, we'll email you the program brochure for your consideration. We believe that those who hear the call and know that this is their moment will say yes. And to those who maybe the timing's not right, maybe you're not in the financial place where you can afford the Standout Women's Leadership Program, I would encourage you to check out a couple of resources. Dion wrote a fantastic book called The Influential Woman. And we did a wonderful session in Ghana last November with a number of people who were touched by the book in addition to the sessions that she did with us. If you want to place an order for that book, you can go on Amazon and order a copy of it. As Dion comes to Ghana next month, she'll be bringing copies of that book as well. So, you can let us know via email if you want some copies of that book so we can tell her how many to bring, right? My books are also available as well on Book Nook if you want to order Daughters of Zelophehad or The Leading Lady Way. I believe those will be 2 fantastic resources as well. But, as we wind up tonight's conversation, I want to invite you, Dion, to give us a closing thought, especially on the path forward. A lot of us like to be, if I may be so bold, a lot of us, we like an edutainment. Like we like to be tickled by coming to things like this. We go to things, we're hungry, but we sample and then we move on. We take a nugget here, a nugget there. I really used to be a sampler. I used to be the kind of person that'll peek in and get as much as I could for free and then try to piece it all together on my own. But there's something about saying yes to the real work and paying to be supported that I want to close with because I real I really do think a lot of my best and most vibrant, noticeable transformations have happened when I've, you know, invested financially to be supported. And a lot of us are overextended. I tell you, we are perhaps burdened by what they call the black tax. If you have been more educated than most people in your family, you probably have the burden of paying the tuition fees for family members. Maybe you have older parents and I think one of my biggest struggles was learning how to not feel guilty about investing in myself. So as we close out tonight, Dion, could you speak about that? Where does that come from for most of us as women? That we can do the most for other people. We can give extravagantly and regularly to others, but we struggle to give to ourselves. I used to be able to do amazing things financially for others, but feel guilty when it came time to spend for myself. And I think part of my deliverance was through coaching and mentoring relationships where I was challenged by that. So as we wind up tonight's conversation, I'd love for you to speak, about where that comes from and how do we overcome that resistance that a lot of us have about investing in our self-development, the people that will undergird us as we become our best, bigger, bolder, braver selves.
So on my journey to embodying my highness and to embracing my sovereignty, I have come face to face with this very issue. Struggle with money is very much related to struggle with power, and struggle with power is very much related to the way you see yourself, the way I see myself. When we historically, women, even up until the 70s in the UK, women weren't allowed to have a bank account. We live in a patriarchal society. Women have not been senior leaders until now. Like we're new kids on the block. We're new kids earning this type of money. We're new kids having agency around money. This is something that we have not learned yet. We have seen ourselves. We've bought in. Little leader with a slave girl mind has bought in, whether she likes it or not. It hurts, but we've bought into our not worth itness, not worthy. Like everybody else, to be good, to be a good woman, to be right, we need to be taking care of everybody else's needs. But you see, your higher nature, Queen, she knows that if it's going to be okay with them, it's got to be okay with me first. She is a completely different operating system. And what I've seen is that the little leader with the slave girl mind is the one that's running the show. She's the one with all the programming about how wrong it is to be selfish. How about being self-full? How about being self-full and getting your needs met so that you can show up bigger, bolder, better in every area of your life? There's this scripture that's coming to me about the woman who took her alabaster box and poured out the perfume, the expensive perfume, on Jesus's feet, and everybody around was outraged that she would use all of that expensive perfume in this frivolous way. And Jesus put a stop to that conversation because there are some things that just need to be invested in. And we just need to, on our power path, on this journey, ascension journey, this is what we'll be learning. We'll be dealing with our issues around money. We'll be dealing with our issues around how we use our time. We'll be dealing with the issues about how we invest in ourselves. But you need to be in the room. I'm sitting here really frustrated because there's so much more I want to tell you. But you're going to have to be in the room. We're going to have to invest in the opportunity to have a real conversation that we can see from the beginning to the middle to the end. We see it through. Don't be satisfied with these crumbs. Don't be satisfied with these crumbs. We've just literally skimmed the surface here, and it's time now. It's time now for you to understand that if you are to be bigger, if you are to be bolder, if you are to be better, then you need to put your money where your mouth is. You need to put skin in the game. You need to invest, just like you do to, fix your hair nice so that everybody else can be okay with what they're seeing. Yeah, now you need to fix your inner life so that you can be okay with the way that you're feeling.
I
And
love
because
it. I
one more on this, one more point on this. The money is not, it's really not about us. You could buy a car, you could buy a Ford, or you can buy a Maserati. You can, it's really about valuing yourself. The coaching is to a penny. You can just Google stuff. But if you have come to the place where, I mean, to spend this money, you need to come to the place where you just feel like you're worth it. You're like this level of support is not what you need. In fact, we don't need anyone that needs to be in the room for it to be okay with you. Like, no, 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 no. Like, you want to be supported to access what is in you. That's why you come into the room. And you pay for that because you want to be supported. You desire, you choose to be supported at this level. Choose to be supported at this level. Don't settle for the crumbs.
Do not settle for the crumbs. I love it. You know, Dion, I know we're over time, but there's a question in Facebook that I think I'd love to hear the answer to. There's someone asking, do you ever miss your mask? Do you ever miss the old, the eye, the get up that you had? Do you ever feel tempted to go back to it? And she didn't say it in this question, but I could sense what it's like when you're in a transition point, you don't quite see where you're going, but you remember the old at least and how that old comfort, does it ever call you back? That feeling of like, I used to have a way to put everyone else at ease. Have you ever been tempted to go back to the mask?
Every single time I'm going to face a new audience, every single time I'm going to walk into a room that I've never been in before, every single time that I'm going to be seen by people that I don't know, that don't know me, there's a little apprehension. There's a little apprehension. And I live with the apprehension, not I don't ever want to go back. It wasn't comfortable wearing the artificial eye and the dark glasses. That wasn't uncomfortable. In physically it wasn't comfortable. Um, but hiding was comfortable. And I've decided to wage war on hiding. So I live with knees knocking outside of a room that I've never been in before. I don't want to go back. I just want to keep going forward. And I understand my assignment. That somebody told me just last week that when I first saw you, Dion, when I first saw your face, I didn't know which way to look. I didn't know what to do. And then as it was with me all evening, she said it was with her the whole of the next day. And then it culminated in a question that came up for her. If that woman can show up with her head held high like that, what, what right do I have to hide? What right do I have to conceal myself and mask and play small and withhold and cover myself up and not be the real me? Like, tick, assignment done. That's why I'm here. So, yeah, sometimes I get a little uncomfortable. Sometimes you get a little uncomfortable. But let's just deal with the discomfort and get the message of this face, which is it's time to show up for real. It's time for us to see the real you. There's no two ways about it. Your assignment requires us to see, hear, know, understand you. So I'll just keep being uncomfortable until I'm not.
I love this. Your assignment requires you to be visible, to be a version of you that can be seen. And that's why this year's theme for the Standout Women's Leadership Program is prepare for prominence. So many of us have been comfortable with the obscurity, comfortable with, masking ourselves to fit in. But the message here that I want to leave everyone with is it's time to stand out. It's time to overcome those emotions that Dion has just so poignantly described. The feeling that, okay, here we go. But at the same time, I have a responsibility. I carry a message. I carry a gift that the world needs. And I cannot do the world a disservice by hiding and playing small. And I salute you, Dion, because you are a message. Your whole life is a message. It's an encouragement for us to get out of our way, an encouragement for us to step up to the plate that we've been avoiding, to step up to the call and to honor it fully and to show up, as our authentic self, boldly, bravely, in a much better way. So I am honored to be doing this work with you, and thank you for, treating us to these nuggets of wisdom in tonight's masterclass. I want to thank everyone who's joined us, whether you got into the Zoom room or you followed us on Facebook Live. I'm really grateful because we were oversubscribed for this masterclass, and I felt, this is great, but wait a minute. That means that there is this hunger that many of us are sensing that it's time. And I look forward to journeying with as many of you who want to say yes to the Standout Women's Leadership Program. Our Ghana program kicks off next month. We are hosting also an a Kenya version in August. So we'll share more information via email to those of you who are on our list. But in the meantime, please continue to let these ideas we've shared tonight percolate. And we can't wait to see the bigger, better, bolder, and braver expression of you in the near future. Until next time, my friend, God bless you and stay well. Good night, everyone. Thanks for joining.